thing, but we made the decision to put it on Nachtmystium's YouTube channel just because I think I was a little bit of a better fit content-wise. We both kind of agreed. So this will be going up on Nachtmystium's YouTube channel, tentatively. And yeah, the first installment was really well received. I had some pretty crazy people hitting me up saying that they enjoyed it from different like publications and stuff like that, which I think I told you a little bit of that.
No, I'm not sure that we talked about any of that.
Anyways, yeah, just some pretty interesting people that kind of matter reached
That's
out to
cool.
me, and yeah, it was very well received. So I figured we keep the ball rolling. We've both been busy as hell. We've had a lot going on in our lives, and trying to move up a peg and hustle and make money and all that good shit. Um, but we finally had some time to kind of sit down and cut episode 2, and we're going to keep the ball rolling. So the interim between the first installment and the second, third, fourth will be much shorter. I can guarantee you because I've got nothing but time. So, anyways, in terms of the timeline of Nachtmystium, I know we kind of dropped off with Demise, which I think is a really interesting record. It's a very kind of auteur record, and I've listened to the original version and then the re-released version you put out pretty recently. So I feel like it's a pretty good place to start if you want to kind of just tell us some of the background and the lead up to recording it and all that
Sure.
good stuff.
I'm trying to think. So the summer of 2003 is the year that I put together a festival called Blitzkrieg Festival. I might have talked about that in the last video a little bit. It was like Inquisition, Grand Belial's Key, Nunslaughter, Cyanide, Nachtmystium, Krieg, Will, Forest of Impaled, a bunch of bands. It was a big undertaking for me because I was like 19 years old, but it was during the rehearsals for that festival for Nachtmystium that I started working on the songs that would become Demise. And I recorded them probably 5 or 6 weeks after the festival. We did that in late August of 2003 at my parents' house again, the mom and dad's studio.
Classic.
And, yeah, as in the basement while they're on vacation. But yeah, so it was basically, I had, I don't know, probably 3 of the songs fully written. And then when I got together with Chris and Tom Wargoat, the drummer, Cult of Death Tom, we worked out another track or two that there's some stuff that we recorded during that session that didn't wind up on Demise. We did some cover songs. We did a bunch of like other recordings with it. I think we recorded, you know what, dude, now that I'm thinking about it, fuck, I don't even know if this shit ever came out, but we spent 2 days of the first like week that we were working on this recording for Krieg. I'm just remembering this now.
Really?
Yeah, dude, it's interesting. Yeah, maybe I'll ask Neil and see what if he ever put those tunes out. No, I wouldn't be surprised if they'd been released though, honestly, because he was pretty good about not letting anything that was like, worthwhile go to waste, because it was like Krieg functioned like Nachtmystium, like totally chaotic. And with, who's here to play in the band today, kind of attitude a lot of the time. So that's how recordings like that would come about for him. So I'd be interested to know if those songs are ever released. But anyways, we spent a couple days working on that. And then we did the Demise stuff. And it was an interesting session. Chris hadn't worked with me before. So
interesting.
Yeah, he didn't speak up as much as he did during Eulogy IV and Instinct Decay, especially because I asked him to. Once I realized his capabilities, as I got more and more familiar with his music and him as a person, and we grew to be friends and just comfortable with each other. You got to be careful when you're talking to somebody while they're like creating. You don't want to be like, hey man, you could do that better by doing this. You could really fucking bum someone out, by saying it the wrong way to the wrong person. I'm not that guy personally, but I understood why he didn't offer his full expertise opinion like a producer would when we did Demise, because it was his first time working with us. So that kind of unintentionally hurt the record because I think I told you this before. Like when we recorded the drums, you don't have an amp on, right? You just have guitars going into headphones. Well, back in the day, before computers and shit, that meant you played through your distortion pedal right into the board, you know, and quietly, and then it shoots it out into the headphones for the drummer to play while he's tracking his drums or whatever. And I was like, oh, this metal zone. Oh, this sounds amazing. Like, sounds like Burzum. You know, I thought it sounded like awesome. Because like through the nice studio cans that Chris had, you know, like he had the high quality fucking like studio monitor headphones. Yeah, exactly, dude. Oh man, I haven't seen one of those in years. That's awesome. Dude, they've got a fucking unique sound, man. One of those through like a crate. That was like my 90s black metal tone. But anyways, so Chris didn't speak up when I was like, oh man, these guitars sound so sick. Let's just do the whole album like this, direct through the metal zone. There's no amplifier whatsoever. Yeah. It's like, imagine I plugged it directly into a 4-track. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like from the output of the pedal. It was just a big 4-track, you know? So, yeah, it's pretty hilarious. And that's why that album sounds razor thin. It's why Complete Demise exists, because I have 4 years wanted to like record that album properly. And when I went back and did the thing recently, like there's a reason there's only like a couple hundred tapes in those LPs, and that's it for that release. You know, it's like, it's a pet project. I'm not trying to like, I don't know. I didn't like it when Dimmu Borgir re-recorded Stormblast. You know, I thought I was like, why don't do that? You know, and I didn't want that, and because they totally changed like the vibe and feeling of those songs. They don't sound similar at all to me, anyways. You know, so with Complete Demise, I just wanted it to be the original recording with thick guitars and with like a proper bass track. You know, so I did my best to play it exactly as I did when I recorded it back when I was 19 or whatever. The only thing that was different was the bass. I would not have played bass like that at the time, most likely, only because I couldn't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't know to play like that, but that was like what I would have done. So now I have it to listen to, and I got one of the LPs, and I fucking think it's badass. It's like my little project. And if people want to check it out, you know, they can get a copy of it while it's around.
Yeah. And they should. I heavily endorse people to check out that record, just because I agree. I like the original recording of Demise just because it is so raw, and it's that primitive, ultra primitive kind of US black metal shit that I really love.
Well, too, dude. Not to interject, but like, dude, just to mention, like, I'm remembering this. It was like the #2 best US black metal album ever, according to Terrorizer magazine, in like 2010 or 12 or whenever. I remember Leviathan, Tentacles of Horror was #1. We got #2. And that's like, the reason I'm bringing that up isn't to like brag or anything. It's to say that's why when I mentioned the Complete Demise thing, I realized that record is that important to somebody. Somebody said that. Do you know what I mean? And, I've seen people with the artwork tattooed on them and shit. So I didn't want to like vandalize my record for them. Do you know what I mean? So
man, yeah, that's really cool, because
you got to respect it once you put it in the public sphere, man. That's it's kind of no longer yours in a way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a fascinating point. It's kind of an aside, but I know the Abigail guys from Japan, they put out that Grotesque Nightmare LP where it's got their original demo recording and the first live show they played on the B-side. And they kind of outline a similar story where like they really kind of hated the recordings, especially as they got more experience and whatnot. But that show was the first time that so many people kind of within that community there, that scene, heard black metal. So after a while, they decided like, no, we have to put this out. We have to give it kind of a proper release because, you know, it's really interesting. It's like you said, it's not yours anymore. And the artwork on the tattoos, that's heavy stuff, man.
Yeah, you got to come to terms with that kind of, you know. I fucking hate Assassins. I don't like that album, you know. It's like my least favorite record in our catalog. And that's not because to be like some, you know, artsy asshole, be like, oh, I don't like the one that everyone likes. It's my worst work. No, nothing like that. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just not, it's not my taste, you know? It's like, it's not reflective of my taste. If I had if I knew what I was doing more at the time, you know, that was the first time we were in a real studio. I don't know how to tell an engineer sitting in front of a fucking, you know, $100,000 Neve fucking board how to use it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know anything about recording at this point other than fucking around on my 4-track. And because of that, I didn't really have much of a say in how the record like was mixed and sounded. I was going to a guy who had made these heavy doom records. You know, he'd done like Pelican and fucking, you know, other bands from around Chicago that you've probably never heard of, but they all sounded really good, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, I want that natural, heavy, live band in a garage kind of sound, you know, but like really well mixed and separated. And what I got was like Peter Totgren worship, you know what I mean? Like Assassins is really slick, dude. I remember when I put it on in the car, the first time I heard it, I seriously almost fucking started crying because I thought I had destroyed my band.
Oh, that sucks, man.
Dude, like I really did. I was like, dude, like it just sounded so different than anything we'd ever done, you know?
Yeah.
It was like, and it's a really, 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 really well produced record for a metal record. Like if that's what you're into, that style, it's like, it's flawless. You know, Sanford did what he intended to do, which I think was to demonstrate his skills to the record labels, using my album as his opportunity to do so and completely discrediting any input that I had mentioned about how I wanted it to sound a little dirtier. You know, he got it right on Silencing Machine. That's the closest that dude ever came to getting our sound right. You know, that and like Doomsday Derelicts. Other than that, like I think I just really don't like those black metal records, man. I don't like the way they sound. I don't like I don't like a lot of the people that played on them. There's a lot of things about it I don't like, but it's not up to me that those are everybody's favorite records. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you know, look, something I've honed in on, especially as I've established my, you know, presence, I guess, as a vocal fan of Nachtmystium among a pretty, you know, elitist asshole crowd,
Yeah,
is you know, those records, they're liked by a lot of unimportant people. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's moments on Assassins that I like. I mean, I told you that hook on Ghosts of Grace, that I love. I fucking love that hook. Um, but you know, I mean, again, it's kind of a quantity versus quality. I think the quality people, and I mean, again, you know, hopefully as we record these conversations and we kind of hash out your side of this whole, you know, narrative,
yeah,
people will come to a point of clarity because ultimately there's something that I've come to appreciate about each of the Knocked records, especially as I've talked off the record to you and I've kind of gotten just the impression of what it was like recording it, where you were at, you know, mentally. I mean, again, we talked about trying to capture the moment of the
yeah.
session and how quickly y'all recorded these records.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we'll get to those. One thing I want to touch on before we move on, because I feel like it's kind of important. I don't think we've talked about Chris Black
Mm.
on record that much. So if you could just give people kind of an impression who he was, because when I initially started corresponding with you, some of the hardcore Nachtmystium fans, they kind of came out of the woodwork and they were asking me like, oh, you know, ask him, you know, how he got to know Chris Black, what his kind of relationship to the band was. I
That's
don't think
cool.
we've gotten that on record yet, and I know we've talked about it, but
No, I think that's awesome that people asked you about that, because Chris was George Martin for Nachtmystium, if that makes sense. For you youngins, that's the producer of the Beatles, the fifth Beatle, as they called him, you know. Chris was like the man behind the scenes on everything from Demise all the way up through and including Addicts. And on that album, he really took over. He wrote all the lyrics except for one set on Addicts. He wrote some lyrics on Assassins. I wrote lyrics on Assassins too. But he just had like a really big footprint on those records creatively, and also like engineering wise. And like he did a lot of like the weird, like on Assassins, for example, like in between songs, sometimes there's some really weird fucking noisy shit going on that you're like, what the fuck is that? It's Chris fucking around at home with God knows what. Like he can make some pretty amazing sounds from things that don't make sense. You know, like he'll use a guitar percussively, you know, in some weird way with a bunch of delay and like beating on it or something, or scratching it with a, you know, a buck knife or some shit, you know, to get like a super screechy tone. He did all kinds of cool little stuff like that, and then added all these little details that if they weren't there, those albums would not sound the way they do, man. If I stripped Chris off of like Assassins, especially, like, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but there's almost like a melody to my voice on those two records. The secret is there's Chris singing behind me, you know? Yeah, and Chris is a good singer, dude. Like, listen to High Spirits, listen to Superchrist, listen to fucking any of his work where he's singing clean. He's got a fantastic voice, and it's just gotten better over the years. So we had him at like 25% behind us, or behind me, you know, doubled. So there's three voices you're hearing, and he's the one carrying the melody. Just little stuff like that. So this is who Chris was. I met Chris because he worked at Metal Haven in Chicago, which is a now defunct metal record store that existed from about 1999, 98 or 99 until, I don't know, 2012 or something, 13. Okay. It had two locations. We both worked at the first location. I got his job the day he quit. Him and the owner had like some spat over some dumb shit, and a beer got thrown, and that was the end of it. I asked Chris, I'm like, hey man, is it cool if I go fucking hop on your job? Because I'm a shameless prick. Just like immediately like, hey, you know, about that. But it was cool. He didn't care, and I went and took the job immediately. And anyways, he and I knew each other from the record store, though. First me as a customer, and then me as his replacement. And I heard his band Superchrist. Have you listened to Superchrist before, dude?
Just a little bit.
Bro, you would. Yeah. I think you of all people would really like the early shit, man. Like Dark and Dirty, Back and Black, and fucking, South of Heaven, or no, I'm sorry, South of Hell. That like he's always got like some like cliche reference to some other record in the title. Like some of that stuff I didn't always think was awesome, but like the music is so fucking good, dude. It sounds like Motorhead, you know? Yeah. Like it really sounds like Motorhead. It's not like Motorhead with a dark drone production. Like the early stuff especially. It's
I can see that, yeah. And
it's
really been a couple months, but yeah.
Well, what I noticed when I was listening to those early Superchrist CDs that he'd given me at the store, I was like, this guy knows how to write a fucking song. Like really well, like in the pop sense, in the radio sense, you know, like he can write fucking hooks, bro. And I noticed it immediately as like a young ambitious kid. I was very well aware of what my weaknesses were, and I didn't have that like ability to write like these ass kicking punk rock fueled kind of songs yet. And I learned that from Chris, because you have to know how to sing on something like that. You can play like a fucking D beat riff all you want, but if you don't know how to apply vocals and everything else, it's not going to turn out like, you know, some badass fucking, you know, dirty shit like you want it to. It'll sound fucking stupid. And I learned that, you know, fucking around with my own stuff. I'm like, man, I need someone to kind of teach me how to write lyrics, how to apply lyrics, how to think of lyrics as like musical notes and not as fucking words so much, you know, and not musical notes in like the sense of like reading music. I don't know how to read music. Let me put that on record. To this day, I don't know how to do any of that shit. But I understand it. I understand it enough, you know, that I can make my way these days. But back then, I didn't know shit. You know, I just knew what sounded good and what felt good. And I really just was like, there's something that this guy's got in his music that I want to find a way to work his, you know, his vibe into mine. And he had all this recording equipment, and he was super enthusiastic about wanting to get together. You know, I'd pay him a couple $100. I think I paid like $300 or $500 for him to record Demise and mix it. Cool. You know, he just brought a little mixing board over, you know, and like a couple of little rack mounts and two little shitty fucking powered monitors, and that was it. You know, we just went to town. And that little setup got bigger over the next couple of years. Like as we did Eulogy IV and Instinct Decay, we started using, we used a single ADAT machine on Demise and Eulogy IV. And then for Instinct Decay, we bought a second ADAT machine. So we had two of them. So you could have 16 tracks instead of just 8, which was all an ADAT could handle. So ADAT was this bizarre, weird, like digital analog format. I don't know how to explain it, dude. Like you would use VHS tapes, literally. Like
yes, I've heard
blank
of this.
super VHS tapes that they would then
Yeah.
record digitally onto. I don't know how the fuck that works, but that's what they were doing. And
Yeah.
then you'd have to have these two machines would have to sync up digitally
Yep.
with an analog fucking, like format that they're working off of. It was so weird, dude. I was like, what are these things doing? Like listening to them, like, trying to fucking like match up with each other. It was crazy. It would take an hour sometimes, dude. It was like, especially once you have like a bunch of tracks on there. And it was just a nightmare, dude. That's like what we dealt with for Instinct. Those other two, though, we did on the single ADAT machines, and that was really cool. So that was like Chris's, Chris Black's studio setup, man. Fucking, that's what he did all his stuff on. He did my shit back then. He was recording, he recorded the Raunchus Brothers, the Hail Metal record.
No shit.
Yeah,
Really?
bro. Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
He just done a ton of cool shit. And the guy's just like super fucking talented. Like I said, man, he writes great songs. He was very reserved. He was like college educated. He's the kind of guy that like had a crazy night if he drank a 6-pack, you know what I mean? Like that. And then he quit drinking a few years later, like entirely. And I'm pretty sure he's sober to this day. He's like a family guy. He's just a really, really fucking decent, good human being. And he's really, really fucking smart, like smarter than most people that I've ever met, in the metal world anyways. And, he was really opinionated. Sometimes we butted heads on things, but it was always like in a respectful way. We never had any kind of like big blowouts or anything. That was what was really cool about working with him, is that like looking back on it, he had like an incredible level of patience. Yeah. Like dealing with us back then, and me and Jeff Wilson, especially like during those black metal recordings, like we had all this money from the record label, and we only had to spend like half of it actually making the record. So the rest of it went to like cocaine and booze, and we were just fucking wasted the whole time. That's the funny thing about those records too. Those are made by like legitimately hammered ass people, not like heroined out, fucking nodding out shit. No, like partying, like lunatics in their 20s kind of shit, Maybe that's also why I don't like those records as much, because I know what was going on while we were making them. It's just,
I'm sure. Yeah.
There's just weird shit about them. That was a really weird period of time. It was almost like another band. It's like we departed after World Fall and Instinct Decay, and then like became something else for a couple of years, and now I'm back to doing what I was doing back then, working mostly alone. Yeah, primarily in a studio, not touring.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah,
it's the exact same format now as it was in Instinct Decay times for me.
Cool. That's kind of an aside. Not that Nachtmystium is like a one-man project, but the way that I've conceptualized it for a long time was like, I pick up just on the documentation of the different people like playing in each session and whatnot. It's not like an Ozzy Osbourne rogues gallery, but it's like you said with Krieg. It's kind of like, oh, who is available to play this session, in the band. So it's kind of interesting to get some background with that. And, again, it seems like Chris Black is a pretty important part of the sound and kind of that over that moment that you were trying to capture.
Totally.
Which is super dope. So really quick, can you give me just a quick aside on the Nachtmystium Zaster split?
Oh yeah, we recorded that during the rehearsals that I was talking about earlier when I said we wrote the Demise material.
Yeah,
it was recorded at one of those just one day.
Very
after
cool.
practice. Jeffrey at Autopsy Kitchen Records, one of the labels involved in releasing that originally, had talked to me and Scott and wanted, he's like, go record your shit and we'll put it out. It's cool. Back in the day, man, that shit used to happen so fast. It's crazy now. I think how long it takes for anything to happen. Everybody works in slow motion these days, myself included. That was something that probably got discussed some drunken night in like May or June of 2003. And by August, it was recorded, both bands submitted, layout done, on its way to press. Boom, out like in January of 2004 or something. Like the slowest part of the process was getting it made. That's like how quick we used to do shit back in the day. It was wild, man. Everybody was super motivated and fucking stoked on what was going on with their bands, you know, especially Scott, myself, anyone
Yeah.
involved in Twilight. That was like the glory years for all of our projects, you know. And it was really weird because all of our bands got like super fucking, it felt like we got way bigger like overnight and no one knew why or how. It just fucking happened. It was weird, man. So, anyways, though, but yeah, so that was just a track recorded, written and recorded right there at the rehearsal room the day it was fucking, the day we made it, you know? So, yeah, it's funny. That song has become like a weird popular track with a lot of our fans, which I never would have expected. But yeah, people dig it. Some band covered it. There's a cover on YouTube from years ago, but some kids did it. It was pretty funny. It's pretty good.
It's an interesting release, and it just kind of you know, part of what interests me and why I'm really keyed into this kind of US black metal shit is the grassroots nature of it. You see people kind of making connections in a pretty organic way. You know, we're not like Europe. There's a lot of space in between, you know, the West Coast and Chicago and the East Coast and so on and so forth. So just kind of drawing those connections, I think, is pretty cool. And I'm just curious, like, what was Scott like back then? What was your impression of him?
He's exactly the same as he is now.
Okay.
Like so much so that if you knew him, you'd crack up. You'd be like, "Holy shit, he's the exact same." He's Scott and I have a lot in common, man. Like we're very different, and we're also extremely similar. We are two people who have somehow completely managed to abstain from being a part of like the working world our entire lives. You know what I mean? Like whether it's like because of our music, that was like the main thing. Hey, hold on one second. Do you want to come by, babe? Yeah, no, it's fine. Here, I turned around. We'll edit this out. Eric is walking by with no drawers on.
Okay.
In the
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah.
You want to say hi without your ass hanging out? She was sleeping on the floor. Do you know how we do the cat rescue?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a visitor right now. We call him the prisoner. He's like this
The
fucking
prisoner.
dude. He's like a pit bull, dude. He's the strongest cat I've ever encountered in my life, dude. This dude probably fucking shreds birds outside. But, anyway, so she was sleeping in there. So, anyways, we can cut this out. But
I've started feeding a cat that's come by my place recently, and he's
nice,
fucking stocky, heavy fucking dude. And you know, I go to like scratch him and whatnot, and you know, so I get where you're coming from. It's a gladiator to some degree.
Yeah, totally. Here, I want to explain it on Scott a little bit. Hold on one second, dude. Let me ask you.
Yeah, no. Feel free.
What's up, dude? I'm back. So Scott Zasser is literally like the same dude that he was when I met him. He's really God, I'm trying to think what the word is. He's like incredibly funny, but also like incredibly like just negative and like, dude, Eric he's so negative. She knows him. That's what I was thinking. I was laughing that you walked out when we brought this up because she just met Scott for the first time and she's like, has he always been like this? Like, yeah, he's awesome, right? He's super caring. He's very considerate. He's like incredibly polite and like very mild mannered. I've never seen him like upset. I've never seen him yell or get fucking shitty. But he's completely insane at the same time, you know, like I mean, I am too. I say this with full respect in case you're listening, Scott. I love you, bro. Like, I mean this with all due respect. He's just, he's well aware of exactly who he is and that he is not cut out for the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of sad with Scott. Sometimes I feel like he's like got this defeatist thing going on for him and he doesn't give himself as much credit as he should. You know, he's a really creative dude. Like the fact that he's like somehow become a famous suicidal black metal guy, and then like, but since most of that fame has come to him, he has been pushing this bizarre acoustics music that he makes,
I
and
love it.
he's going on the road with it, dude. And like just recently, I know for a fact from being involved with people and the labels that he was working with recently that the people that were supposed to be on his team were not helping him. They didn't want him to go on the road. They thought it would be bad for business for stupid ass reasons. And they just thought Scott was better at home, just sitting there, just making records by himself. They didn't want to do anything to help him. And it almost seemed like they were actively trying to work against him. And yeah, I know they were working against him. I'm trying to keep it open to, whatever, because I'm saying it on camera, but yeah, like they were working against him. They got him fucking fired from his booking agent, man. Like they somehow convinced his booking agent to drop him. Like, why would your record label do that? You know what I mean? So
it sucks because I know a couple chicks that saw him in Asheville a couple months ago, and he did like the weird folk, jazz set or whatever, and they're like, "Dude, it was a great time, man."
No, it's cool. I've seen it before, man. I saw it in LA a couple years ago with Erica. That's where she first met him. But dude, so he had all that working against him. And this is like when he was here visiting me. You remember when I posted those photos, right? It was like 6 months ago, maybe. Since he was here, he managed to get that whole tour booked that he did by himself and went out and did like 30 dates, drove across the country and back in an unregistered illegal vehicle. Like, yeah, he's like that crazy. He's like, I don't do the DMV. Like, I don't register my cars. I also don't fix them. I drive them until something breaks and then I get a new one. I'm just like, okay, bro. Like that's how you do. All right, that's fine. I understand. I don't like going to the DMV either. But
no.
Yeah, it's like he's just like he's really funny, man. He's kind of like me. Like he's like, oh, you think you got your foot on my head? Like, well, watch this. Watch my next trick. And then he goes and just silently does it, and he has 100,000 fucking followers, and he's like doing music that is the polar opposite of what people know him for, and all his fans still come out to support him, man. Like, it's pretty cool. Like, I think that's like the most punk rock shit ever in a way.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
Like, do you know how much money Scott could make if he just kept recreating black metal records? I mean, dude, he could very easily get himself like huge. He could solve a lot of problems for himself financially in his personal life. I know that for a fact. And he chooses not to because his integrity says so.
Cool.
That is like, I don't know, man. I have so much fucking respect for that,
Tight.
So yeah, that's who Scott is, man. And that's who he was then, and that's who he is now. I call him friend for sure. He's a good dude.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's just it's all black metal shit. And I mean, again, it's why we talked a lot off the record about how black metal is kind of the last real moment rock and roll had, and it probably will ever have.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why
I think Thurston Moore saw that, and that's why he was into black metal. That's what I got from him when I met him a few years later. We'll talk about that another time, but he said something to that effect, which was like it was kind of like the last new thing that has happened with rock and roll music, So of course I'm into it. It makes perfect sense when you think of it from that angle,
Yep. As far as the timeline goes, like the next thing on here is Eulogy IV, but I know you've been mentioning some Twilight stuff kind of off and on. I'm not as familiar with that band's timeline either. So
with
I don't
Twilight's
know, where do you want to
timeline?
go this? Yeah.
Twilight, I mean, dude, Twilight didn't really have a timeline per se. It was a project. We made it it took a month and was a 2-week trip to California for Neil and I, and then a 2-week trip for Jeff and Neil to Chicago later that year. It was like September and December of 2004 when we did it.
Okay, yeah.
And ironically, the last day that they were in Chicago at the end of the second trip when we were all done, the big records done party that we had was Nachtmystium opening for Satyricon with Joey Jordison playing drums. So that's how
Oh,
crazy
that's
I used to
cool.
be. I'd be like, yeah, come out. We'll finish this super group record we're making on a 4-track. And by the way, I'm going to play with Satyricon at the end of the week. So I have rehearsal every night this week, while you're here. And it was just, I just like fucking, did it, dude. It's fucking like made it happen. I don't know how the fuck I used to have all this energy to do this shit, man. It's crazy. Huh? Yeah. Erica's like, cocaine. She's probably right, dude. But
Well, people just they made shit happen back then, right?
yeah.
Do you want to talk about that recording process at all?
For Eulogy 4?
No, with Twilight while we're kind of on it.
Well,
But
yeah, it's interesting. Like, so just to give you a timeline of where we're at, Eulogy 4 happened in February of 2004. Twilight happened in September and December of 2004. So it's all the same year.
okay.
Eulogy 4 came out on Total Holocaust Records, this killer Swedish label that you
Yes.
should go back and listen to. Go to check out their discography, man. They put out some amazing shit.
No shit.
This guy Håkan ran it. Håkan Johnson. He was really cool, and he was a powerhouse. And he put like hundreds of releases out in the course of like a few
Crazy,
years,
man.
and then he just vanished. Right? No one knows what the fuck he went off to do. And he was into photography, so my guess is he probably went to go do that professionally. So, Håkan, if you're listening, what's up, dude? He released Eulogy 4, and that's how Twilight was even talked about, because I asked him, I was like, you want to release this? He was the original label on deck to release that album, and did release it on CD in Europe. It only came out on Southern Lord in North America back in the day. So, but Southern Lord was huge. Southern Lord was this thing, but that happened like a year later. It happened like way after the album was done. They popped up right before this Swedish label was about to release it, and they were like, "Hey, can we get in on that? We're really interested, and Scott and Jeff are going to be on the new Sun album, so we want to put something out from you guys, and this is a perfect thing." So that's how that happened. But like I said, like if we had been working, if that Twilight thing had been like mixed quicker than it was, it would have never come out on Southern Lord, because it would have already just been out on that tiny little Swedish label, and that would have completely changed everything about our futures if that had happened, which is kind of wild. So. Southern Lord was like the huge turning point. So that's when the hipsters arrived, all of a sudden we were getting kids with like shaggy haircuts and fucking tight clothes at our shows, we're like, who the fuck are these guys,
Yeah, and Southern Lord is kind of a weird label. Like, they put out a lot of an eclectic mix of weird kind of hardcore
I don't even
stuff
know
I
where he's at
like, and
anymore, dude. He like went like doom D-beat punk kind of shit like a decade or so ago, and just completely changed his entire format, dude. He was like doom guy originally, and then doom black metal guy that did weird shit like Earth and Boris, and that was like the Southern Lord heyday, in my opinion. Was like from right around when Twilight happened up through the end of the aughts, like 2009, 2010 in there. They were like the coolest shit in the world back then, according to every record store nerd. You know what I mean?
I can see that.
Super trendy at the moment for sure, but it was because it was good. They were doing good shit. They had a moment. It was, I mean, what label could have a band like Earth, and then a band like Twilight, and then a band like Boris? You know what I mean? And somehow it made perfect sense. It was very weird.
Oh, well, yeah. And I'm a big fan of Nails, which is kind of like a hardcore, like death metal oriented.
That band's kick ass. That dude is pissed, man. I know they're huge. They deserve to be huge. That guy writes really fucking badass, tough ass songs.
Brutal fucking shit.
Yeah,
and
Whitehead's
Southern Lord. Yeah. Okay, well, yeah, Eulogy 4 is the release I really care about, because it's a really cool release, and I know you
that's
said
when
before
we became our own band, our own sound. That was like our first real record. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that's like the actual demo of the band that would become Nachtmystium from that point forward, I think. We just kind of kept the name.
And I can definitely see it with the songwriting, and there's an evolution there. And I mean, man, I love the tracks on Eulogy 4. I'm really glad you put it on fucking Spotify, because these long fucking work commutes I've been doing, I've been able just to put it on and you added some really badass like Ild Yarn fucking covers on there,
Yeah, those were
which I
recorded during
know.
the Demise session.
Yeah. Oh, no shit. That's cool. Super cool.
That's why they got that shitty thin sound to them.
It works though because it's Ild Yarn. It's probably a little bit
Yeah,
better than
it's
the
supposed to
source
sound like
material,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just tell me, the session with Eulogy 4, was it that much different from Demise? Like, where did y'all go with kind of the
We
direction
went
of the band per se?
we moved geographically for starters. We went up to the guy who owned that label who put out this Nachtmystium Disaster split. He also
Hmm.
put out like a live record for us, and he did the first pressing of Demise. That was called Autopsy Kitchen Records, and
Yeah.
his name was Jeffrey, and he had this vacation home up in Michigan. Hold on a second, my battery's low. Let me plug in real quick. Um, he there we go. Am I in here? Yeah, all right. So anyways, Jeffrey from Autopsy Kitchen had this vacation home in Michigan that was about 2 hours from Chicago. And
Cool.
we would go up there in the wintertime and hang out, when it's like during the off season every once in a while. And we're like, dude, if there's no neighbors up there that time of year, can we bring the band up there and record? And he was all about it because he was releasing all our shit at the time and just helping us out. So it turned out that living room turned out to be like one of the best rooms we ever recorded in with that equipment, man. Like you can hear it. That's a well recorded record, man.
Yeah, it
Sounds
is.
better than
Yeah.
Instinct Decay. Instinct Decay is a big fucking mess. And it's because we didn't record it in the same spot. We recorded it in a big boomy room with a high ceiling instead of the little tight living room that we recorded in Michigan with. We also did Worldfall at that same place we did Eulogy 4.
Oh,
And
cool.
those records sound awesome, I think, and it's 100% because of the locale. So yeah, dude, that record was like the first time that I got home with an album and I was like, oh fuck, I just did something. Do you know what I mean? Like I knew like this doesn't exist. I just made something fresh, and I was really happy with it. And Chris was really involved with it. He played bass on it. He helped me with every fucking detail of that whole release. Play solo here, do this and that. He's kind of producing me in a way, right, for the first time. And that's the result. That's how much of a difference it makes, man. Listen to the difference between Demise and Eulogy 4, and that is the difference
Yeah.
of Chris getting comfortable and being told, hey, man, you can speak up and you're encouraged to. Please do, So we recorded that over like a weekend, dude. It was like 3 days, 3 to 4 days. Just banged it out, and we drank a shitload of beer. I remember that. We drank like 1,000 Busch Lights and fucking got fucking White Trash hammered and made a fucking EP, man. It was awesome. That
Yeah,
shit was
very
so fun,
cool.
man. I realized like I actually am remembering like very fondly right now of that recording session and being outside in the snow at my buddy's place, and we're all drunk. It's 3 a.m. and you can do whatever you want. You're in the middle of nowhere, I know you like shit like that. You like a fire and stuff like that, right? Being out under the stars.
Yep.
I'm that way too, man. So we're on a lake, right, with nobody fucking around, and it's the dead of winter, and we can do whatever we want. We got this whole house, we got all kinds of. We stop and get a bunch of shitty groceries, get frozen pizzas and bacon and fucking all kinds of other, unhealthy shit, and then a shitload of beer, and just fucking nobody drinks water all weekend. We just get hammered, and make records. And we did that a bunch of times, man. We did that for other projects. We did Krieg stuff up there, like I said. We went up there for Twilight
Okay,
one
cool.
time to write. Me, Jeff, and Neil went up there. I believe we just wound up doing a bunch of drugs and didn't get anything done. But yeah, we tried. But that was probably the most important moment in the band's early years. It was like when that came out, we sent it out. That's when we started getting offers from record labels left and fucking right. At one
Okay,
point,
cool.
I had an offer from SPV. I had an offer where like Steamhammer, huge European label that does like Motorhead and shit, power metal, like bands that we don't listen to. Like, that's where Typo Negative ended up at the end of their career, for example. Metal Blade, Earache, Moribund Records, Century Media, Candlelight. All 7 of those labels were trying to sign us at the same time when we eventually signed. Yeah, like I'm dead serious, dude. I used to have all the contracts. I thought it was hilarious. I
Yeah.
lost that shit when I was homeless, but yeah, it was a really, really wild moment, and that was the EP that did it, man. You know, but bro, it didn't seem like I was like doing anything like that wild. There's nobody had fucked around with black metal at all yet, right?
Yeah.
There was no like psychedelic Blue Dawson Nord record that didn't exist. You know what I mean? There was nothing like that. Um, I kind of like to say that like I think that we fucking should rock the crown of like saying we started the whole psychedelic black metal thing.
Oh,
You know?
well, yeah, there's no question about that. And I mean, just the innovative edge that y'all contributed to the
Yeah,
scene in the United States and so on and so forth. But yeah, there's no doubt about that. And that's why a lot of the, asshole elitist circles I involve myself in, they give Nachtmystium a lot of shit. And we'll get to Instinct Decay. And I mean, again, Eulogy IV, like there are a lot of really, really tight, solid releases that y'all put out. And I think it's doing something kind of unique. It's taking elements of it's kind of bits and pieces of the like European black metal formula, like from Burzum and so on and so forth.
yeah,
But you're making it individualized, like Bleed for Thee is
yeah.
one of my favorite songs off of Eulogy 4
That
because
was always my favorite one on that record.
yeah, there's just something to it and it has a unique kind of angle to it.
That
And
song's all Graveland, bro.
yeah, yeah.
Which is kind of a weird thing. You got Graveland drums going on with these like soaring psychedelic guitars over it. You know, it's fair to say there wasn't really anything like that at the time. You know,
No, that's what I'm saying. It's just fucking cool and it's unique, especially for the time.
it happened so naturally, man. It was so easier to make than those earlier records were because I was so trying to fit the formula when I was younger. You know,
Yeah.
I was like
Yeah.
really trying to make sure that we sounded like a black metal band. You know what I mean? You're just like a dumb young kid. Um, Pretty much being like a huge poser in a way, you know, because you're trying so hard to be something that clearly is not entirely coming natural to you, you know.
Yeah.
What came natural to me was these records, you know, like Eulogy 4 and fucking Instinct Decay. I remember I worked on that album for about a year, and at the time that was a long fucking time for me to work on anything, you
Yeah.
know, because like I said, I normally write stuff very spontaneously, but Instinct Decay is the one album that I did write a bunch of those songs and like kind of sharpened them over the course of a year because we were playing shows and I had a drummer, this guy Dave, the guy I've talked about before, who was like in the band early on, and we
Yeah.
thought he wasn't like into the right shit, so we had to fire him because we couldn't be
Mhm.
seen with him in the wrong band T-shirt or whatever stupid attitude we had. Uh, so he came back for more abuse a few years later and pretty much wrote Instinct Decay with me and then got fired right before we recorded it because I was like, you have to quit your other band, dude. If you want to play on this record, you have to quit your other fucking band because this record's going on tour. And I'm not going to find a new fucking drummer after you come on and play super fucking well and then make it impossible for me to fill your shoes. You know what I mean? And he wouldn't quit his other band and who wound up like belly flopping within like 2 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I brought Tom back to do Instinct Decay, and it would have been Dave otherwise. Dave, who was like in Commandant and a bunch of other bands, Demonic Christ, some other shit these days. But yeah,
Cool.
Dave, yeah, he was the guy who pretty much helped me write that whole record. I feel bad saying it, man, because I'm just remembering we spent hours on those songs, you know, and I'd
Yeah.
kind of I'd kind of like to know what it would have sounded like with him because he's such a different drummer than Tom. But Tom did a great job. You know, the
Mm.
Instant Decay is cool as it is. But
Yeah, it's a dope, great, great fucking record.
well, dude, it could have been a big hiccup because Eulogy 4 was so good for me. Like I was so
Yeah.
satisfied. It's dangerous when you're satisfied with your work
Mhm.
because then you don't want to make more. You know, you don't want to fuck up what you just did. Like if you thought you made something, like I couldn't believe that was my band. That was how I felt about it, listening to it for probably like 6 weeks after we were done, dude. Like I really couldn't believe we made something that sounded that like professional, you know? It was just like a huge step up. And in that situation, a lot of people choke when they go to write
Yeah.
whatever they put out next, you know, because they're they're either nervous or they're way too confident, or a mixture of both, you know, and because of the results of whatever they've just done. And that's what I was kind of worried about. But I spent my time on those Instinct songs and really sharpened them. And Chris and I got together and we would do demo sessions. We did this before Assassins as well. We might have done it for Addicts too. I can't remember. But
Okay, cool.
we would get together and we would set up this same gear that I'm talking about, the ADAT gear, and we would record demos of the songs that we were going to record when we got together with Tom. We did that for Instinct Decay because it was going to be a full length. You know, we like Demise was different. Like we were young and we didn't, you know, we just didn't know each other as well yet. And we didn't plan for that the way we did for this. We knew Instinct Decay had like way higher of a bar to reach because of the quality of Eulogy IV. And Eulogy IV got crazy reviews. That's when we started showing up in magazines and stuff, you know? So everyone's looking, they're waiting to see what you do next. And like, we recorded Instinct finally in May of 2005. Tom, the drummer, learned every one of those songs the day they were recorded. We recorded, and there's 2 songs that didn't make the record, maybe 3. We recorded like fucking 13 songs in a single day, dude. And Tom had never played any of them, dude. Like those recordings, like that's like his 3rd or 4th time playing any of those songs when you're listening to it on the record. You know, and we would just record from the get-go. And just in case you got it right off the bat, you know, they're real simple. Yeah. You can tell him like, hey, you know, blast, fucking rock beat, blast, rock beat, double bass, rock beat, blast, done, you know. And if he's counting and paying attention and has good meter, you can nail that pretty quick. Yeah. And he was like that guy. He could do that, and he did. It's just wild thinking about it. You would never imagine that record or that recording would turn into something like Instinct Decay, you know what I mean? Yeah. Where it's like an album that we're still talking about 20 years later that people still dig and listen to every fucking day on Spotify. It's very weird because it should have been a disaster, you know? I fired the drummer I had been writing it with to hire this guy who's going to learn all the songs in one day, you know? And we just went for it, man. And we were drinking the whole time too and partying. Yeah. Like it was crazy. But we did all the songs and we would record, we'd have these demo sessions, and then about a month later we'd get together and do the actual drums and the guitars, like the first layer of shit for like Instinct Decay and for Assassins and stuff. We always go back to the studio a couple weeks or a month even later and do the overdubs, do the solos, add any synths, vocals, especially. Like lyrics are generally written during the period of time in between the 2 recording sessions. And once we have an idea of what the songs are going to really sound like, because again, like we're so fluid in the studio that sometimes things change very dramatically from what I thought they were going to be that morning when I was leaving to go and to what it turned into when we left that night. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, it was, it was just a fucking really, really stressful thing with Instinct Decay though, because the recording turned out so shitty. You know, the drums are really boomy, man. Like the room was, we used the wrong fucking room. We recorded way too many songs, spent way too much time working on learning and recording those songs instead of tightening up our drum recording, you know, and working on EQing our shit out and making things sound better, you know. So we wound up with this muddy ass record. And I can't tell you how many emails Chris and I shared where I mean, dude, it was like a subject for a couple months of, are we going to release this album? Because we thought it was going to, we were worried we were going to make the hiccup I'm talking about, right? Like you did it on that EP, but you tried to do it again and you just, you know, you won the lottery on that one, bro. Like that year, you can't do that again. That's what we were really worried about. And Chris thought because he was the engineer on it and because Eulogy IV sounded so good, you know, he was really not into releasing it, you know. And then we were having problems with the mastering too. I remember like the guy who mastered it was one of the dudes from Pig Destroyer who was doing a bunch of mastering for people at that time. I got in touch with Southern Lord. I didn't know shit about mastering back then, you know, like I didn't do stuff like that yet. Now I do. It's very fucking important, you know. But I learned about it on this experience, and he fucked it all up because he's like, you know, he's not a black metal guy. Some fucking doom metal dude tells me to send it to the grindcore guy who's never heard the band, and so it was like this whole stressful fucking ordeal. And finally, I think it was because I was working with Southern Lord for Battle Command, my label, who was going to release it. Southern Lord agreed to take Instinct Decay, and I wanted to have something to go tour on because I had all these dates coming up and shit. And I was like, fuck it, Chris, I'm going to put it out. Rebecca did this amazing artwork. Like, I got the layout done, like Profound Lore is on the line to fucking do 5 colors of vinyl, which they did, in 1,000 copies, and picture discs. He did like 200 picture discs with the Autopsy Kitchen guy. It was like such an underground thing too. It's like, I'm doing the CD, Chris is doing the vinyl up in Canada, and Jeffrey in Indiana is doing a picture disc with Chris in Canada, you know? And like, there was no one arguing like, oh no, those are our rights and blah, 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 blah. There's none of that shit. And then we had Greg Anderson at Southern Lord like, hey man, I'll distribute that shit for you and put it into fucking stores like actual record labels get, you know? So all of a sudden we looked like we had our shit together way more than we really did. You know what I mean? Because I'm like hustling CDs out of my house that are winding up in Tower Records, dude, and like major chain music stores, and in end caps, and fucking like I'm buying space on shelves in different districts, you know, where metal is big. And it was wild, dude. It was just a really wild thing because we were operating so DIY and punk rock behind the scenes. It's like the Wild West, man, of you know, cheap and abundant digital ability with CDs to get music out there, and like people like me doing like the Black Flag thing just in our modern day at the time, you know. And we didn't have all this digital shit yet. Bandcamp didn't exist. Digital wasn't a fucking thing yet. That wasn't even, we started worrying about digital around 2009. Do we really have to worry? Like, do we have to submit music a certain way because like we have to have a certain type of fucking file for Apple Music or whatever? Like, this is really going to happen. No one believed like people would actually stop buying CDs. But then what happened is people started growing up without them. That's where the business died, you know?
Yeah.
Because, well, as people get older, not everybody stays on buying music like they did when they were in their 20s or their teens. No. Most don't. So,
no, and it's a whole nother conversation. I mean, it's a lot of discussions with friends of mine about how kids these days, they have never owned a piece of media.
Yeah, they don't know what it's like to go look for something that they don't understand the concept of. You can't find that.
No.
You can't get that anywhere. You have to go to Europe to get that video.
And just that there's a physical disc or thing, you know, record, a CD, a tape, that you know, they've never owned a physical piece of media.
Yeah. Or it's really it's crazy, man. It's absolutely wild, man. And it happened fast. I held on for dear life, like both as like a you know, consumer of music personally, and as like a label person, and tried to stay in the game of physical releases and shit. But it's just like, it is now like a dying collector's market. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it is.
Most people buy records and don't listen to them. They keep them on a shelf and they listen to shit digitally. I don't care what anyone says. That's what most of us old fuckers do. I can assure you that.
You're right.
You know?
You're right.
I'm guilty of it, man. It sucks. I have like 500 LPs within 6 feet of me, and I don't remember the last time I listened to fucking hardly any of them, dude.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I've got maybe...
You're good about listening to your records.
I do. I've got like 100 LPs behind me. Like, maybe that's a generous estimate, and I listen to them. But you know, you're right. I can't. You know, I'm a blue collar fuck. I'm out. You know, all over the fucking state, like working. You know, I can't listen to records, and I mean, I have a CD player that I jack into, but you know, it's just technology is changing so fast.
You know, but like, what else? What is like the real purpose of physical media these days? It's to have shit to sell at your merch booth and stuff for fans to collect, more or less. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of sad. Man, I remember none of us really when the record labels were like, you guys, you gotta understand, things are about to really, really change. Like really change. One thing most of my friends got told is don't expect the big budgets you've been getting anymore. And that's the one thing that I've been personally able to maintain that I'm really proud of, especially considering that I had a pretty rocky ride there for a few years in the PR department. But
Yeah.
I still get the same budgets I used to get years ago. Now, like the dollar isn't worth the same amount now. It's probably less now than it was then in terms of buying power, but it doesn't feel like that to me,
Yeah.
you know?
And
Like,
that's another
I'm totally
conversation,
happy
right?
with. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I record at
Yeah.
home now. I'm not paying a bunch of guys to work with me to get shit done. I'm sure if I
Yeah.
was, that money wouldn't go nearly as far as it used to, but it's not the case. I'm just using it for fucking getting gear for my house pretty much, you know, and I pay my
Cool.
drummer over in Italy to fucking go into the studio and do his thing. And that's the only transaction from anything regarding budgets. So it's cool. So to get that money now, I actually feel like I'm getting like a little paycheck, you know, which is cool. And a lot of bands lost that, I think, you know, or they have to go out and they have to go hustle and play live. They don't get, you know, 5-figure budgets anymore. They don't get, you know, it was never a lot, but like 10 or 12 or 15 grand, something like that for a recording for a black metal record that's a lot of money. If you ask me, for the kind of music we're playing, like in the expectation of it, you should be able to do it with that. And, you know, now bands are forced to try to do it with 2,500 or 3,000, or they're just like at home doing it themselves, you know, and then they have to go out and tour that record to make any money at all. It's a sad situation.
Yeah, I mean the touring ecosystem has changed a lot, especially in the last like 5 years with COVID and everything like that. And this doesn't necessarily coincide with that discussion. Um, but you know, there's so much. The music industry is changing a lot, obviously, and I'm a total outsider,
Yeah.
100%. You know, you're the closest I've gotten to kind of an under the hood look at the finances and the logistics of, you know, what it's like to, you know, try to make a living as a band, you know, recording records and touring and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Um, and
Incredibly
it,
difficult and not
yeah, I mean,
glamorous.
it's kind of bleak. It's a bleak landscape,
Oh,
and
it's super bleak now, especially.
man, and I see these skinhead bands, you know, playing like Oi and whatnot, these shoestring fucking budget bands. It's just these like drinking buddies that got together and they decided to, you know, like play fucking covers. And it's just kind of depressing. It sucks because there's a serious demand for it in one way or another. And it's something we talked about. Like, I feel like there's a lot of young guys that they get into that live music setting and they hear guitars, you know, coming through an amp, and they just lose their mind because they never experienced that before, and they've never, you know, it just kind of sucks. It's a bleak landscape.
Well, is it true that like shows are like not as packed as they used to be? I mean, it seems like the Metal Threat Fest was well attended and the Beharit shows were super packed from what I heard. But like in general, though, like do local bands, like small shows that would have had 100 people 10 years ago, do people still go to those gigs? You know?
No, I mean, the Birmingham hardcore scene is it's kind of its own thing, you know, right? But you know, no, they're not as attended as they were, you know, like 5, 6 years ago because, you know, I mean, a lot of people
Just don't go out,
die.
right?
Well, they don't go out. A lot of people died. I mean, just a lot of things just changed. And there's a lot of people that got comfortable listening to music just in their apartment, you know, in their house or whatever. It's kind of like, why would I go out at this point? Because I can just listen to, you know, whatever record and kind of have that, you know, perfect experience, so on and so forth. And they don't interface with the public anymore,
Yeah, it's
and they've
super
forgotten
weird.
how to.
I
Yeah.
see pictures like there's this photographer in Los Angeles that I follow on one of my socials, and
Yeah.
they go around and they take these really cool dreary photographs of empty bars on the weekends, like on Friday and Saturday nights. They places that a decade ago there was a line down the street to get in. You know what I mean? And now there's like literally a bartender and a bar back, and the bar back's about to get cut, and it's like 11 o'clock. You know what I mean? It's super weird. I've been wondering if that's how it is for shows. You know, I asked Ken from Abigail Williams. I talked to him a while back, and I was saying, like, dude, are your gigs as well attended? And he's like, dude, it's not like it used to be.
No,
So
no,
especially like during the week and stuff. So in small markets, you know, like you used to be lucky if you were in, like, say if I was coming through Alabama on a Wednesday night, if we had 100 people, that would have been a fucking great show. You know what I mean? I'm totally just guessing on that. I'm not sure how packed shows get down there. But,
well, no, and I mean it's a pretty accurate
I feel like
assessment.
that feels right.
Yeah, it does. It feels right, but nowadays maybe a couple dozen. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
right.
It's really crazy.
Yeah, you
And it's
hope
more
for 100
intimate.
and you get that.
Yeah.
And in that regard, like as a musician, can you survive on that?
No.
If you got some amazing fucking merch, and some, big pair of tits selling them or something, like there's like for real, you got to like get that money, and there's nothing there. Nobody has any money to spend either, maybe they go to the show, but they can't afford anything.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, how much were the tickets for the fucking Metal Threat Fest? That had to be like hundreds of dollars, right?
Hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I mean, again, I didn't go, but it's part of why I didn't go. Is just like, can I fork over almost $400 to travel to Elgin, Illinois?
Yeah.
Over a weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't do that. And
it's so funny that's where that was. That's why nobody protested, because nobody fucking goes to Elgin.
No,
Elgin's
it was some
armpit.
Oh man, it was like this Latino like venue or whatnot.
I noticed it looked like a Latin weekend party
for
venue.
sure. The fucking stars like up on the back. Yeah, man.
It's cool. The cool thing about those places is that the owners don't give a shit. As long as everybody's respectful, they're not gonna let fucking Antifa show up and shut the fucking gig down.
Yeah.
If they're gonna make money, you know what I mean? So that's probably exactly why Paul picked that place.
No, for sure. And again, that's why I can't hate, because it's the perfect venue for that kind of show. Because the owners didn't give a shit. The drink prices were somewhat reasonable from what I heard. I mean, it was.
What's reasonable drink price today? I haven't bought a drink in a bar in 10 years.
Man, less than what I paid for the fucking beers at Beharit in Houston. That was.
What were you paying for a fucking beer? What were you drinking?
It was a Stella Artois, as my friends say. Stella Artois is a 24-ounce can. I think I paid $15. It was like stadium prices.
Can of fucking Stella?
Yeah, it was insane, man. Yeah.
Whoa, bro.
Hence why I was stone cold sober at that fucking show, just like running around the fucking circle pit. Just,
I was ready for you to say like $10 or 11 even, but I was not ready for that. That's crazy.
No, I think it was 15. Yeah. I mean, it was so much that I couldn't look. I couldn't even look at the receipt they kept giving me. It's like, no, just fucking throw that away. Like, I don't fucking need that.
You still gotta worry about people driving drunk because nobody's going to be able to afford to.
That's what I'm saying. Is this kind of security on the one hand, because nobody's like acting like a fucking asshole, because everybody's pretty. Yeah. I don't know. I push my people hard to like go to shows, show up, be present. Even if there's nobody there, just like show up and be
go stand
a personality. Yeah, exactly. But it does suck because the bar for shows is getting kind of low, and it's a lot of super kind of local DIY stuff. And it's not that I hate the local punk gigs. I don't know. I'm not old, but they sound terrible. The sound sucks. The show sucks.
Yeah.
Just
low energy, low good vibes.
Pretty much. Yeah. Just kind of all the above. It just blows, man. It's terrible. That's why I kind of like hearing these accounts of the scene, if there even was a scene like 20 years ago.
Dude,
15
it
years
was
ago.
awesome compared to whatever the fuck this shit is now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
And I mean,
I
we're
didn't
doing what we
realize it at the
can.
time. You never
Yeah.
imagined that like life would just stop happening the way it did.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like if
Yep.
anybody told any of us like, hey man, in 10 years people just won't like fucking hang out with other human beings anymore, you'd be like, shut the fuck up. Like what?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it was
man.
inconceivable that something like this would happen, you know? But I don't know if it was COVID that did it or what, but like I think all the division, uh, it's just like it's destroyed everything, man. It like rotted our culture like that. Like
Yeah.
literally in 10 years, it like destroyed everything, it feels like, you
Well, and I
know,
don't think it's a super political statement to make, but
not.
it's obvious that COVID broke something.
Yeah.
And,
It
you know,
broke
like
something in me
going,
even, dude. Like I've never been
yeah,
the same since that shit, dude. I don't leave the house like I used to.
yeah,
For real. Like my whole like attitude towards the world changed, whether I like it or not. It's very weird.
yeah, because I mean, that stuff, it's a skill. I mean, it's like, the way I think about writing, the way I think about music, I mean, just everything else. Like it's a muscle in your mind and it can atrophy over time. And,
Good point.
I mean,
Yeah.
again, it's the number of guys that I talk to who are like, oh, I used to go to shows like twice a week and now I don't anymore because I
That's
got
really
out of the
weird.
habit, you know.
Yeah, I'm like a completely different person than I used to be, man. It's weird.
Yeah.
I would say that that's true of me since I moved to California. There was a huge change that occurred in me while I was homeless and going through the drug stuff,
Oh, no
and
shit, man.
that rolled into my new life in California. And I changed a lot out here, but then COVID was like another whole fucking like revolution in the direction of which I had been moving already in
Yeah.
the previous couple years that I just mentioned. Um, and it's weird, man. I mean, I feel like I'm like almost like a different person. I'm like a
Yeah.
guy that does none of this shit nowadays and has all these memories of doing it. And I don't say that in like some forlorn, sad way. Like, I don't want to go out. That's the weird thing. I don't want like everything changed, man. Like, it's almost like you had like a relationship with the world and the world cheated on you. It's like now you broke it, you know,
No
it's
shit.
done. It's not the fucking same now. Like it can't
Yeah.
ever be the same again. It kind of feels like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, man. I mean, the last thing I'll say about it is I don't work in like addiction counseling. Like it's not what I do, but I have a lot of friends that work in that world.
uh
And like COVID was a nuclear bomb for those guys.
oh,
I
I'm
mean, it
sure.
fucked everything. Just so many people died. So,
Yeah.
and it's a tragedy. It's horrible. And yeah,
Are you talking
there's
about in terms of like new addictions arising, like people fucking having too much time off? And
everything,
yeah, I know a
everything,
lot of
man.
people's drinking got real out of control during COVID because they're like, oh, let's drink during the day. This is fun and cool. It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
but you can't handle it and you don't know it. But
no.
you'll know it when you go get told to go back to work.
Well, exactly. And just everything got worse.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know it, I know it, we all know it. Everybody with a fucking frontal lobe knows that. Yeah.
Dude, on this point, man, like to wrap this into like, relevance to our conversation
Yeah.
for the band stuff. Dude, it's really hard to be creative right now for me.
Yeah.
Like I am a whole new brand of hopelessness within me that I didn't have at any other point in my life. I didn't say that sentence very well. There is a what feels like a whole new style of like hopelessness that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
has formed in me that comes from just observing what's going on. It just doesn't feel like, do you feel like you can plan for your fucking future right now? Like really?
A little bit.
Like yeah, a
Just a
little
little bit.
bit. Just a
Yeah.
little bit. And at your age, you almost have to. Like you're trying to get married and like you're a young man, you're
Yeah.
getting like into your career. Like you of all people like deserve to feel what I'm describing the least. You know what I mean? And I I just sense it with a lot of people,
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like I don't know, man. You almost it's like you have to force yourself to care about shit these days.
You
Do you know what
do.
I mean?
Yeah. You
Do you
really
feel that
do.
way ever?
That's
I
a
just don't
great
know.
way to describe it. And, yeah, a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that I'm doing and I'm working on. I mean, yeah, it's forcing me and other guys that are like-minded to care.
Yeah.
And it's worthwhile. And you know, again, part of why I'm so optimistic is there are a lot of young guys that give a shit, that you know, we just want to commit, and they want to
Yeah,
give trust to get trust. It's a lot of good stuff happening behind the scenes. I can't really talk about it here, but you know, things are happening that make me optimistic in the long term, not the
that's
short
cool.
term, but the long term. Um, so, uh, really, the last thing I want to talk about for this clip is
Mhm.
World Fall,
Sure.
because it's a fascinating EP. And anyways, I just kind of want to let you,
Oh,
you
it's
know,
funny.
wax poetic about it.
It's funny that you bring that up. So the Rose Clouds of Holocaust cover, our Death in June cover, is on there, and I think, did I tell you this privately this week? Like, dude, all of a sudden that Rose Clouds of Holocaust is our #2 best streaming song on Spotify,
I think you
right behind,
you might have told me that, yeah. And
dude.
it's a fantastic fucking
That's a
cover, man.
reflection of what's going on in Gaza, though, dude. Like the fact
Yeah.
that a song it has been in the bottom 20% of our streamed tracks for years. I can, if my little Spotify for artists apps, when you're an approved artist, you get this shit and you can see
No shit.
everything that's happened. You can see when people listen to what, right? And it's pretty fucking detailed. It's wild. And dude, this song just went like right up the fucking little chart on my phone over the last couple months. I'm like, what the fuck is happening, man? Like our fucking like really fucking edgy Holocaust song that we fucking somehow got away with releasing. Like I was shocked when we turned that into Century Media, dude. That was the first thing we gave them. German
Nice.
label, big German label. We're like, yeah, here you go. You know, this band can't release this song in Germany legally, but we're going to give it to you to put out and hope that nobody notices. And they
Yeah.
didn't. It was wild. But, you know, I always really liked it. People who've heard that song, they'll comment on it, you know, if it comes up and they'll say they really love that cover. But it was never something that was being listened to in abundance, dude. And it's getting played over 500 times a week right now, which is insane. Ghosts of Grace averages about 1,000 streams a week. This is #2. So that's just wild to me, man. That gives me hope too, you know, because you can't
Yeah.
listen to Death in June on Spotify. So I'm pretty sure it's the only version of that song on the entire platform, and that's why it's getting so much traction because people are
That's
getting
fucking,
beautiful.
yeah.
Or it's like a
It-
TikTok thing, maybe that I don't know about. Here's my boomer moment, you know, like, oh, maybe the kids are listening on the TikToks, you know, like, I don't
it's a
know.
possibility. And
But
the Overton window is definitely shifting, and the stuff that I
that is
could say,
evidence of this, dude.
yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
100%. So I thought I'd mention that while we're talking about this EP. The funny thing about World Fall is that like I was really bummed out when it came out, dude. I turned it in the same year in 2008. They put it out in May, but we put out Assassins in like December of that same year, like November or December, and that album got crazy fucking PR from Century, so they didn't do shit for World Fall because it was an EP. So I thought no one would ever hear it. And at the time, that's kind of what happened. It took a while for the CDs to get out there because that did get released on CD when there were still record stores selling our shit. Caught on really big in Europe. It did really well in the UK. Candlelight sold the shit out of those EPs, and people really dig it, man. I love those songs. I like those 2 originals on there a lot. I think they're really
Yeah.
good. Um, last thing we ever did that wasn't in a pro studio, although we did mix it at a pro studio. We mixed it at the studio I recorded The World We Left Behind and Resilient at years later. So
Okay, cool.
we
Cool.
took the ADAT machines up there and just dropped each track into a DAW pretty much and then mixed it in there like you would, you know, if you'd
Yeah.
recorded it. So yeah, it's a cool record, man. It's fucking we re-recorded a song from Demise. There was evidence of the complete Demise thing already manifesting itself. It was like, I got to re-record this fucking song, you know? I like the original better, but yeah, that's on there. And then there's a Goat Snake cover, which is like totally
Yeah.
there's Greg from Southern Lords Doom Band that I really liked. I remember we recorded the track when we were doing the music. And then when we were doing vocals, we were finished with everything. We'd finished the 3 Nachtmystium songs and the Death in June thing. And we did the vocals at the studio, the pro studio we were mixing at. So I had to do it all on one day. And we were like hanging out and drinking beers and shit. And I was like, oh, I'm not even going to do anything with this Goat Snake song, man. Like this doesn't belong on a Nachtmystium release. And the engineer, Chris, was like, no, man, fuck that. He's like, get in there. It's like, you got, 8 beers and you go let it rip, dude. So I just went for it, man. I'd never sang in my life. So that's my one attempt at fucking singing the blues.
Like,
So yeah,
cool. Very cool.
I'm surprised that song didn't offend people, man. Nobody said anything about it. I thought it was a pretty bad cover personally, but
I think it's cool. It works, and it's an EP, so it's kind of a different context for releasing
yeah,
music. But it's part of what I dig about Knocked is you got the EP and then the album and the EP, and
yeah. I think it
it
was a
kind of proceeds
perfect
in that
like.
way.
I think it was a perfect interceptor in between like Instinct, Decay, and Assassins.
Yeah.
It kind of like spit on it a little first. You know what I mean? Before you
Yep.
just jump right into that slick studio production, you eased into it with Worldfall. So yeah, it's a cool record, man. I think if people are into Instinct, Decay and they haven't heard it, they should check it out because there's some
For
good moments.
sure.
Yeah.
Were you a big Death in June guy before you wanted to do the cover? Was it kind of a spur of the moment type thing? Like,
But
where did that come from?
I saw the first time I ever saw left wing Antifa type violence was in 2003. It was right around the time I recorded Demise. My ex girlfriend Rebecca and I went downtown to go see Death in June and Der Blutarsch play at this
Oh
nice
shit.
club in Lincoln Park, which is a nice part of Chicago, like a jazz club or something, almost like a place
Yeah.
where you sit
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all these people showed up outside, and there's like people like some people showed up in like fucking they're wearing like military garb and shit. Some right leaning stuff for sure, but like this is
Hmm.
2003, man. Like people didn't really give a shit about this back then, and it wasn't like the majority. It's not like a bunch of people were outside in SS uniforms or something.
Hell
Um,
no.
it looked like a neo folk scene. You know what I mean? Um, and all of a sudden, these two cars pull up, and a bunch of people jump out with like batons and literally start beating the shit out of people right there. And they got the show canceled. They got the show canceled and moved to another venue that was then threatened to the point that they didn't let him play. And so what we all wound up doing was like having a night standing outside of this second venue, talking to the people from Death in June and Der Blutarsch,
Damn.
which was really cool. But the reason I covered that song is because I couldn't believe what I saw. I could not believe that that happened in America. It was like shocking to me
Yeah.
because of, believe it or not, back in the day, that was not something that happened ever. That was not, shows did not get canceled. As far as I was concerned, like
Nah.
Nazi shows could happen and they wouldn't get canceled. They might have a hard time finding a venue, but if they got one, that shit went on. It happened. I've seen Absurd and Grand Belial's Key and the Raunches Brothers
Yeah.
in Chicago in like 2006 at a fucking bar. Nobody showed up to stop it. You know what I mean? It wasn't like this back then. So, anyways, that experience with that situation with those guys like really left a mark on me, and I really love that song.
Yeah.
I agree with that song, and I think that's I thought it was a really ballsy thing to do. Right when you signed to Century Media, to like that song is a statement, and I shamelessly put it out on my first record on my first big label. So kind of set the tone. Like we don't fucking play by the rules. And it's funny that 20 years later, me having the fucking courage to do that back then, because it was considered edgy as fuck for sure.
Oh, I'm sure, man. Yeah.
That like has relevance nowadays. I think that makes my band stand out in a way to younger people. They can see that, be like, there's the fucking evidence, bro. I've been saying this shit for 20 years. I've been saying it for longer than that, So yeah, I'm really glad that people are digging it and that it's still around, being listened to, man. It's cool.
Yeah, and I mean, again, just on the artistry point, like Death in June is a fascinating project, and
Yeah, it's weird. Some of it's great, and a lot
yeah,
of it's not very good. That's how I
no,
feel about it.
no, and that's
It's
why I
like a
love it.
25-75 good
Yeah,
to bad ratio, but like that good stuff is fucking great, man.
is you got to pick through the bad to get to the good
Yeah.
songs.
But you got
Yeah.
songs like Little Black Angel and Fall Apart and
Yep.
Rose Clouds of Holocaust. There's She Said Destroy, like the early goth
Yeah.
stuff is pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, man.
There's some
Yeah.
moments, that's not all great, but it's like, you know, not all Joy Division was great. Most of it
No.
was, but like it's like, you know, they were experimenting. So, and I think that
Yeah.
they were way more relevant than they're given credit for. You know what I mean? They started a
No
whole
doubt.
thing like Marshall fucking Neofolk didn't exist. You know, it was just Der Blutarsch and Death in June, and they were just these weird bands, and no one knew what to call them, so they called them folk music. You know, but I remember seeing those CDs in like record stores when I was a kid, and it was the only thing I would see with like a Totenkopf or something on it. And I'd be like, "What the fuck? Like, what are these weird dudes in masks? Like it's very strange imagery, you know." I was always fascinated by it, man, and I got into the music like right around the same time that show happened, like 2002, 2003 is when I started checking it out. I think it's when the streaming stuff started take like what was the fucking one you could download off of?
Livewire, Napster?
No, it was after Napster. Oh, Audio Galaxy.
Oh, yeah.
Audio
Oh,
Galaxy.
my God, yeah.
I got on Audio Galaxy and I fucking pirated music for the first time in my life around that time. I remember my girlfriend at the time and I went nuts. We had like a big binder of fucking CDRs of all this music. But dude, it was cool. That's how I heard like Satanic War Master for the first time. I remember like I got his demos right when they were coming out and fucking debut album and a whole bunch of other cool shit, and I was checking out stuff like Death in June and Der Bluter, shit
Oh,
that I
yeah.
didn't have money for, but I've always wanted to hear. So yeah, I think that's how that all came about, man.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. And I'm going to shout out Avowed here. This is another Chicago kind of black metal band, and they do the Death Spell Omega, like uber melodic kind of stuff that I can't really wrap my head around. But I think it's kind of cool because they built upon that tradition of sort of a Illinois, Chicago black metal band, like covering Death in June. They did a cover
Yeah,
of oh fuck, what is it? It's one
I
of my
know.
favorite Death in June songs.
I'm
You
trying
know
to
what I'm
remember.
talking about?
I know
Yeah.
the song. I can't think of what the title is off the top of my head.
Hollows of Devotion. They covered
Okay.
Hollows of Devotion.
Mhm.
So I thought that was cool, kind of. Not that I don't understand their inspirations or whatever for covering it. Like it's a great song. It's a great Death in June song. But I thought about you covering Rose Clouds of Holocaust and then them, years later doing Hollows of Devotion, and they're, publicly a Chicago black metal band. And
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they're not like friends with me per se, but they don't, tell me to fuck off. So
Oh, dude,
that's kind of meaningful.
I'm buddies with Mike, with the one dude
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
from Twitter. He's gonna sing on the new Hate Meditation record.
Oh,
So
that's great, man. He
yeah,
he's a badass fucking vocalist.
he and I have like known each other for 25 years. I just
Good
don't
shit.
remember most of it. He met
Good
me a
shit.
bunch of times when I was meeting 10 people a day at the bar, and
Yeah.
like I didn't remember him. We reconnected on X in the last couple of years. And
Cool.
I knew his name right away. I'm like, I know you, dude. Like, why can't I put your face to your name? And he's like, yeah, dude. He's like, I was fucking around for, X, Y, and Z. And I'm just like, oh, fuck, man. Like, you were there. Like, you
Yeah.
were really there.
Oh yeah.
So we have this interesting connection where like I have no memory of him whatsoever in my life, and we weren't close enough for any of my like the fucking collateral damage of being around me at that time didn't affect him at all, so I didn't ruin my relationship with him. And
No,
it
and
allows us to like have this cool creative partnership now.
yeah, and I knew a bunch of guys that met him. Maybe not a bunch of guys, a few people that met him at Metal Threat and hung out with him, and they said like, "Oh, dude, he's a super nice guy. He's great, so on and so forth." So, yeah, he seems like a very cool person that's like clicked into everything we're talking about and understands everything. And I
It's
mean,
funny.
again, the vocals on that cover of Hollows of Devotion that he did are nuts,
Mhm.
absolutely fucking insane. Like, go listen to it if you haven't heard it. Um,
Yeah, this check out Avowed for sure, man. That their demos are really good too. If you're into like the Deathspell Omega kind of thing, I also would mention like Dudheim's Guard, like their newer stuff, kind of.
No shit. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, they're it's weird because I'm not super into that type of black metal normally, but there's an edge to the Chicago bands too, man.
Yeah.
I like even bands I don't necessarily like from Chicago. I can still say most of them have this little fucking extra chip on their shoulder that I don't notice in other bands from other bands. I'm like really proud of that. I've always been that way. Like Chicago's fucking where, Death Strike is from. Look at the cover of the album Fucking Death by Death Strike. It's like a bunch of dudes in a junkyard with like an 83 fucking Chevelle and like pipes and bats and leather jackets. It's like the most manly shit ever. And that's what I think of when I think of Chicago metal. Like that's the bar that we set. Like there's just that extra fuck you to everything, And I hear that in Avowed, which is weird because like stylistically, that's a hard thing to do with that style. But there's something extra there, and maybe it's just my like hometown pride shit, like a fucking gang member. My neighborhood.
No. I gotta respect it though. And it's real.
I'm like really, dude, I'm like really fucking about that. I'm like, I understand like the whole like block mentality now. Like this is our fucking neighborhood kind of shit. Like I really felt that in Chicago. I felt like a real deep loyalty to my city, and I wanted to represent the chaos that was occurring all around me. And I was able to have as much of that as I wanted there.
Yeah,
I had like a volume knob I could turn up of how violent I wanted my day to be by how far fucking west I went from my house, and what kind of chaos I would encounter. And you see all that shit, and that it was totally reflected in the music, Like Silencing Machine is kind of like a reflection of living on the west side of Chicago, addicted to heroin, especially.
Heavy fucking record, man.
Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah. Well, you want to wrap this one here?
I think so. Yeah, we kind of reached a good like stopping point. And I think this kind of leads well into the next like era of the band, so to speak, because we mentioned Century Media a few times, and I didn't know that Worldfall was the first thing y'all put out on Century, which is pretty fascinating.
We gave them Eulogy IV as well. We made them put Eulogy IV out on CD and fucking Worldfall, and then they wound up doing a picture disc that has both of those EPs on either side of it, which is kind of cool.
I need to own that.
You could track that down. You could probably get that for like $12 on Discogs, dude. There's a lot of those out there.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, I need to look into that.
Go get you one.
But yeah, we'll sign out here for now. Episodes 3 and 4 of this audiovisual project, whatever you want to call it, they're coming very soon, imminently. Yeah. So stay tuned.
All right, brother. We'll edit out there.